Cost of governance. Those who have been, every day you tune the TV these days, you hear, oh, cost of governance. Some people say, oh, cut down salary of public convoy. Come from 124 vehicles. Is it to 50 or to 20? When the leaders of other countries of the world actually drive themselves to work at times, they can have a backup vehicle. It never comes to convoy of this. So where are you going to cut down? Then somebody will say, well, wear one wristwatch. Or reduce the allowance of a senator. NINAS has a totally different diagnosis on that subject of cost of governance. Because where we are now is that all the money that Nigeria earns is no longer enough to pay for the bureaucracy. That's those that work for government. All the money the country earns, no longer enough to pay their salaries, allowances, and finance their corruption, their greed. And we are now borrowing 40 years into the future. Otherwise, tell me what this approval in the National Assembly about the ways and means that they have amortized into 40 years. That is, they've borrowed money into the future to pay the salaries of people who are not there. The rest of the populace entirely on their own. And those in government put together, the entire officials and the police, the army, all of them put together do not come to 1% of the country's population. How many policemen do we have? Probably 300 and some, less than 400,000. The armed forces, less than 300,000. Army, Air Force, Navy, Civil Defense, all of them put together. Civil service, how many ministries do we have? How many people are on the payroll in those ministries as people who government has to pay them? They don't all come to 2 million from the 200 million. That's 1% of the population should be over 2 million. We don't have a 2 million government. We don't have a we don't have that number of people running what we call the government for us. And so we're saying that if we think that it is by giving up one little allowance here or cutting down a convoy there that is going to reduce the cost of governance, is because we do not know where the cost of governance is coming from. NINA's alternative, because for every one thing we say is being done in some way, NINAS has its own prescription, and the alternative, it has its own diagnosis, and therefore the alternative prescription. Cost of governance. The reason we are spending all the monies that Nigeria earns trying to service the 1% that run, less than 1% that run the government, is that we are now financing, as a country, we are financing 812 governments. 812 governments from 5 at the time we were a federation. We had 4 regions and 1 federal government. That was all. And governance was being provided at that time. Emma Okpara took the eastern region to where it became the global reference. Awolowo in his time took the western region to where it was making waves globally. Ahmadu Bello managed to, in chasing after the other 2 regions, also dragging his own people along. The Midwest did not fail too. So 5 governments, 4 regional and 1 federal, provided more services, more education, more healthcare, welfare generally to the citizen than all of what we have now. Today we have federal government, 36 states, Federal Capital Territory, that's 37, 774 local government areas. Combine all of them, and you will see the number of, the number of governments that every month we come, they say, oh, fuck, 600 billion, 700 billion naira shared to go and pay for bureaucracy. What are we doing? How did we arrive at 36 states? Other than the brigandage of those who were carving out, those who fractured the 4 regions into 12 states and went on by decree with no reference to implication for financing or implication for what then gets to the citizen if you have to provide this number of bureaucracies. That's how we got to where we are, that we are financing 812 or so governments. The solution is to dress back from that structure. People that talk about restructuring, it is because the structure of 812 governments that have to be financed every month from citizens that cannot get a dime for healthcare, education, or any kind of thing that is their own. That is where we got to this humongous cost of governance. The solution is to dress back and accept that we can no longer keep 774 local government areas on the list in the constitution, for which reason they have to be financed every month. The people who put it there were the same people who created 44 local government areas for Kano. At the time, Bayelsa has only 8. There's nothing any president can do about this structure, no matter how well intentioned they may be. He's only going to be, anybody who becomes president will only be that one person, one president. He's not going to change Nigeria from the 36 state structure or 774 local government area structure that becomes basis of sharing, opportunities and even resources and representation at the place of decision making. So cost of governance, if we truly want to address the cost of governance, we must deconstruct this useless multiplicity of bureaucracies. Remove local government, from having to be financed. Local government is supposed to be the internal affair of the federating union, the units. It doesn't have to come to constitution. And when we come to the states, we come down from 800 and whatever to 36. When we come down to that 36, we then determine whether we can function as 36 states, or is there no way we can consider all these 6 geopolitical zones by which all kinds of things are being done. Why can't we get down to a table and look at what has gone wrong and what we can do to bring it back down to manageable, so we can have only few bureaucracies that then will leave the bulk of the money available for development. All of those who are shouting about cost of governance, if you are not part of the campaign to take down that constitution and dismantle these 812 governments that we have to finance every month, then you are a fraud.